guys, welcome to today's video. We are going to be talking about everything I purchased in the month of January using my beauty budget. If you're new to this series, I have a beauty budget that I set aside out of my own personal budget that covers pretty much everything makeup and skincare, body care, hair care related. And then I have also allowed myself to spend the money that I'm making on this channel towards products that I am going to review and talk about on my channel. This month was definitely very drugstore focused in terms of what I purchased, and you're going to see that reflected in both the totals as well as the numbers of products that I purchased. But this is the time of the year where I think drugstore makeup is probably putting out the most releases. And so because I want my channel to remain very drugstore focused, as well as focusing on luxury makeup and then being able to dupe those things, I definitely wanted to pick up quite a few new drugstore releases. And so I first had my eye on the Covergirl Pretty Fresh collection. It's this very soft pink, really pretty collection that Covergirl has put out for springtime. So on 1/5, the first thing I picked up was their Clean Fresh Skin Milk. I bought this at Ulta for $10.59. I did have a 10 off 40 coupon that kind of went against a few products that I purchased on 1/5. I got the shade 520 Fair. I do have a full demo video of me applying this and talking about how this goes on my skin, what I like about it, what I don't like about it, etc. That is coming up here shortly, so you'll get a chance to see this product in action. It is a very dewy finish foundation, and I do think it's practically less of a foundation and more of like a tinted moisturizer, but I did really enjoy this product from Covergirl. The other thing I picked up on in that same order was the Covergirl Clean Fresh Glow Stick. I looked at some swatches online and I ended up getting the shade Transparent 300. This is a complete waste of a product. I like nothing about it. It doesn't illuminate. It doesn't leave a balm on your skin. It has a strange like film that just kind of like disappears if you can get it buffed into the skin. Like it almost feels like one of those like cooling eye gels. If you've ever bought one of those cooling eye sticks to go underneath your makeup, it kind of feels like that going on the skin, but it's not even that moisturizing. So I don't know what they were thinking with this one. This one's going to be a hard pass for me. The other thing I picked up from this line was a cream blush, and I was really excited about this blush. I got the shade 330 Sweet Innocence for $9.70 at Ulta as well. I feel like this is a metallic liquid eyeshadow. It does not blend out well as blush. It's very patchy. So quick pause here. I'm gonna apologize. I'm trying to film in the afternoon. I've got a window here like off to the side, and the sun is actually shining today, and unfortunately that means it's like sending in dots. So I'm trying to figure out how to position my face so I don't have like dots all over them, but hopefully that's not too distracting. Anyway, back to this. I did demo this in a Get Ready With Me video. I will link that down below if you want to see this in action, but essentially it just does not blend out very well. It dries really fast, and then it just looks like you've tried to put metallic pink eyeshadow on your cheeks, and I am not a fan. And then I also picked up the new Covergirl Exhibitionist Uncensored Mascara. I think this is such a pretty mascara tube. I know that doesn't really mean much, but I really think the design with this like rose gold on the outside, I don't know, for some reason this design seems really pretty to me. Unfortunately, I think this is basically a natural mascara. It's got one of those fluffy natural bristle brushes. I don't know why that's hard to say right now. And I find that it gives a great length, but not a lot of volume. And so for somebody like me who doesn't have the longest, thickest, most voluminous lashes to begin with, something like this just isn't enough oomph for me. So the last thing I purchased on 12/5 was from Makeup Revolution. It was their Conceal and Fix Ultimate Coverage Concealer with Salicylic Acid. I got the shade Light Beige. When this came, I thought, oh my goodness, this is so pretty. It's got this rose gold cap. It's plastic, but it feels really nice, and this frosted bottle. And then I was kind of hoping this would be a dupe for the NARS Soft Matte Potted Concealer, since NARS isn't cruelty free, but I have tried that product. product, I thought, oh gosh, it'd be nice to find a dupe. This isn't it. This is a sticky mess. It is so thick and so sticky that it is almost impossible to blend out. I actually got to a point where I had to, when I was trying to do a little spot concealer around my nose, that it was so thick and weird and like bunching that I had to actually wipe off all the foundation around that part of my face and reapply. This is just, unfortunately, in my opinion, kind of a junk product. This is kind of out of order. I just realized the date on this was 1/1, but for some reason it made it further down my list. Regardless, on 1/1, my next Curology shipment went out. This is the formula that I've been using for a while that has niacinamide 4%, tretinoin 0.01%, and azelaic acid 2%. And then on 1/7, I went out on Amazon and ordered some more of my Perfect Matcha cleansing balm from Physicians Formula. I absolutely love this stuff. It's not overly fragranced. It melts all my makeup off. It rinses away without leaving a film. I do a second cleanse afterwards, and I feel like my skin is not super stripped, but it's definitely clean, which is what I'm going for. So I continue to repurchase these over and over again. And then on 1/10, while we were at Costco, I actually went and purchased another box of the Kirkland Signature facial wipes. I don't use those on my face. I find them to be a little too fragrant, and I just don't like using makeup wipes, but I do use makeup wipes for all of the swatches that I do. And then the next day I actually popped over to Target as well as over to Ulta. At Target, I was specifically looking for the new Hydrating Camo Concealer from e.l.f. I was very curious about this. They didn't have the entire shade range there, so I picked up what I thought was the best shade for me at the store, which was Fair Warm. And it didn't look that yellow in the container in that store lighting, but as I got home, I did realize that it was quite yellow on me. So later this month, I did go ahead on the e.l.f. website and order the shade Fair Beige, which is a much better shade match for me. It's a little bit pinker, comes off a little bit more neutral on my skin. I think it is nicely hydrating, high pigmentation. You don't need a lot of it. A little goes a long way, but it's really nice underneath my eyes, and I've really been enjoying it this month. So that was what I got from Target. And then I went over to Ulta that day because I was very interested in the new NYX products that had come out, this whole glass skin collection. I did find a whole stand of new NYX products, one of which is a lip product. This is a Dazed and Confused blurring lipstick. I ended up getting a shade that's like a little, I don't know, out of character for me. I typically, when I'm testing new lip formulas, I end up getting just a basic nude because I feel like then I can test lots of different things. I could be testing a different eyeshadow palette, or I could be testing crazy different blushes, and a nude lipstick is going to match all of those things. I just went a little out of my comfort zone because I thought this looked like a really pretty orchid pink color. It's got a pencil on one end and then a sort of brush on the other. And I do actually think you can use the brush to kind of blur it out. It is a very interesting formula. It's matte, but it's not heavy. And it definitely works really well as a stain, and it does blur. It does make your lips look slightly blurred. In hindsight, how much am I going to use this shade? I don't know. I actually probably could have worn it today with today's look, because I do like these sort of like cool tone pinky green eye combo. But regardless, I do like this formula quite a bit. I just don't know how much I will use this shade, but I kind of want to push myself to use it a bit more because it is a nice formula. I did make the decision to purchase the NYX High Glass Face Primer. I found a display of this and I squirted a little bit on the back of my hand. I had 3 different shades there. I got the lightest shade, which was Moonbeam, and I put it on the back of my hand and kind of blended it in and went, oh wow, like that is really glass skin looking. Like it was really, it wasn't reflective in a metallic way. It was like reflective in a very glossy, glowy sort of way. And I have to say, I did a sort of first impressions video with this. I will link that down below so you can kind of see this in action on my face. It's beautiful. I love it. If I have one complaint about it though, it's that it's like $17. And I struggle a little bit because I don't feel like, I mean, listen, there's a lot of foundations that I'm trying and testing right now that are like $15.99, and I just bought an eyeshadow palette for like 20 bucks. And so like, I get that the drugstore has and can have products at a slightly higher price point, and I'm okay with that. But it's just such basic packaging for $17 that I'm kind of like, God, this just doesn't feel like a $17 product from NYX in this packaging. And yet I put it on my face and I think it's beautiful. It performs beautifully. Like, so I'm really torn because I feel like that price point is just a little high for this product from this brand in this kind of packaging. Like, I feel like this feels like a $12.99 kind of product maybe, but to be all the way up at 17, just kind of like, I don't know, it's a bit of a turn off, and maybe it's just all in my head, but regardless, I freaking love this primer. Love it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I also picked up the NYX High Glass Illuminating Powder. This is their lightest shade, which is Moon Glow. It kind of has a putty-like texture to it, like you put your finger in it and you can see your fingerprints. My biggest problem with this is it's pretty, but it does have just a hint more of a yellow gold undertone to it than I personally like on my cheek. I do find sometimes when I put this on, if I haven't done a very warm look to begin with, it looks a little too gold for my personal preference, but it is a beautiful product. There's no glitter in here. It melts into the skin. It definitely gives sort of glossy vibes. I actually would love to see them come out with this in additional shades, because I feel like if I had something that was a little less gold and was a little more, yeah, like you kind of see that reflect there where it gets kind of like yellowy gold. If this was a little bit more neutral, a little bit more of a beigey champagne or even a pinky silver, like I could pull that off a little bit better. So I'm tempted as well to kind of pass this on to a friend who has more of a yellowy undertone, because I think they might really like this. And then the last thing I picked up that day at Ulta was from Milani. This is their new Screen Queen Natural Finish Foundation. I got the shade 150 Cool Shell. This is supposed to be a luminous natural skin finish, medium, light to medium coverage, long wear. I do think this one is less luminous than the Covergirl Skin Milk that we talked about earlier. I think this is more of a natural finish. I did also do a video of me applying this. I will link that down below in case you want to see kind of how this goes on. But in general, I think this is giving you kind of light coverage, maybe buildable to light medium. I do feel like you probably should try and find these at a store. And the reason I say that is because it does dry down several shades darker than it appears when you first swatch it. So I went into the store, tried a couple shades on the back of my arm and kind of wandered around, let them dry. And I noticed that this shade in particular dried down to my right shade, but when I first pump it out, it looks very, very light on me. And don't feel like it oxidizes or changes tone, but it's definitely darkening as it dries. And then on the way home, I made a pit stop at CVS just to kind of poke my nose in and see if I could find some of the new Physicians Formula products that I was interested in. Didn't find those, but did find a really interesting display of CoverGirl products, some of the ones that I had already bought at Ulta, but one I hadn't in the Clean Fresh line, which was their tinted lip oil. I got the shade 130 Fresh Squeezed, like a light sort of Welch's grape scent to it, which is actually really nice. It's a nice tinted oil. It's a sheer sort of wash of pink. Nothing wrong with this, it's just probably not going to become a favorite product of mine. And then I also picked up a CoverGirl matte lipstick. So this is their Exhibitionist 24-hour ultra matte lipstick. They do a semi-matte lipstick, similar packaging on the outside, much different bullet on the inside. I got the shade Stay With Me, shade 600. This is so awful and chemically smelling. Like, oh, it's so bad. Like, it is straight up pure chemically weirdness. Like, I know it's just like, it's probably the silicones or dimethicones that have a weird scent that they haven't found a great masking agent for, either through a scent or just a neutralizing masking agent. And it's one of those ones that you put it on your lips and you continue to smell it. So not only is it not a pleasant experience as you're applying it, I noticed this staying on and just lasting and lasting and lasting. It has a nice sort of glidey feel when you first put it on your lips, and it feels like it's going to be creamy, but this actually dries down to almost a matte liquid lipstick kind of finish. In fact, I would say, at least my experience with this shade, is that it doesn't even really transfer, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, I find that this one really emphasizes lip lines and texture in a really extreme way. So I felt like I was seeing almost like product puddling and or sort of going away in my lip lines. And so it just always looked slightly disheveled on my lips. So unfortunately, I just don't think this is a great formula from them, both in terms of the scent, which I find so bad, and then also in terms of just the wear and tear on my lips. So on 1/14, I ended up getting a box of PR from Good Molecules. They had reached out to me earlier in the month asking if I would like to get some products from them to try. And I went back and forth with them because when I had first heard that Good Molecules was coming out, and that's a skincare brand that's owned by Beautylish. I love the team at Beautylish. I think I have such a lovely positive experience every time I order from them, every time I deal with them. Like, I really enjoy Beautylish as a retailer. When Good Molecules came out, probably, I don't know, was it 2 years ago at this point? Maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. It was a more affordable skincare line. That was kind of the impression I had, but I couldn't get clarity when they first launched over whether or not they were cruelty-free or not. I went back and forth with them and they assured me that they are cruelty-free. All their suppliers are cruelty-free. They're not selling in China. So they check all of the boxes for me in terms of being a cruelty-free brand. If you guys are followed me for any length of time, you know I don't change up my skincare routine often. I tend to only change out skincare products that aren't working for me, or if I feel like I need to do something different, like a new skincare concern has popped up. I don't really test skincare a ton. That being said, their email timed out with me kind of perfectly for a couple of reasons, because one, I feel like the serum that I bought from The Ordinary that was supposed to help fade dark sunspots, I've given a good solid 4 or 5 months to. Have purchased multiple bottles of it, and I'm not really noticing any difference with my sunspots fading. So I already kind of had in my head that I wanted to find a different serum, and I wanted to research a serum that would get rid of those sunspots. In the month of January, I was also struggling with extreme dryness, and I really have not been enjoying the facial oil that I picked up from Derma E. And so when they reached out and asked if I wanted to try some products and said I could pick out a couple of things to have sent, I went online and just kind of looked around to see, like, is there actually anything from Good Molecules that makes sense for me to try, that I actually want to try, that I could see myself incorporating into my routine. That being said, the products that I picked out to try were the silicone-free priming moisturizer. So I picked this specifically because in the month of January, my skin had been so dry, and this idea of a priming moisturizer, I thought, oh, well, maybe I can just even use this as a primer. My skin is so dry. I felt like at some point, either late December, early January, I really disrupted the skin barrier on my chin in particular, and I felt like I was constantly dealing with dryness and texture down there. This was one that I thought, you know what, I'll just use this as a primer potentially, or I could use it as a moisturizer. So I liked that this had shea butter, macadamia seed oil, and a plant-derived silicone alternative. When I ordered this, I kind of thought, well, maybe I'll just try it as a primer. They call it a priming moisturizer. Maybe this will be some kind of like the, what is it, the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer is kind of what I was thinking. It's definitely thicker and creamier. So I've been using this for the last 3 weeks, I would say, as my daytime moisturizer, And I find that it is hydrating my skin without making it greasy. It really sinks in really well, but it doesn't impact or mess with my makeup at all. It doesn't ball up or do anything weird. Other thing that I like about it is one of those pumps that kind of like pulls the product up as you go, so you get every last drop out of the bottle. So the other thing that I was very interested in trying from them, in fact, probably the top of my list of things to try from them, was their discoloration correcting serum. I had been using the alpha arbutin 2% plus hyaluronic acid from The Ordinary. Didn't feel like the alpha arbutin was doing anything to fade the sunspots. So I took a photo of my skin in natural lighting with absolutely nothing on, so you can kind of see the sunspots that I'm talking about, because I want to try this discoloration correcting serum for the next probably 3 to 4 months, and then see if we see any noticeable difference at that end of 3 to 4 months. This is interesting to me because this has an ingredient that I was unfamiliar with, and I actually had to do a little bit of research on. It had something called tranexamic acid. It is apparently derived from the amino acid lysine, and it's a brightening powerhouse is the way they describe it. And there is some really interesting research about tranexamic acid and what it does inside of your skin. I've been using this since I got it, which I think I would have gotten that around, I got it on 114. So I've been using this from 114 to now 2/1, so several weeks, not noticing any irritation. I'm not noticing anything massive at this point, but once again, I have zero expectations that skincare is going to massively fix my skin in a 2-week time frame. But I don't have anything negative to report on it either. So I'm going to continue to use this. I will probably have to purchase a few bottles myself over the coming months to really kind of put it to the type of test that I want to. But I'm excited about this active ingredient because it wasn't something that I was aware of in a lot of the other sort of brightening serums that I've seen on the market. So excited for this, and once again, very reasonable price point at $12. The third product that I had asked that I was very interested in is their ultra hydrating facial oil. This is formulated with camellia and sea buckthorn oils. I love everything about sea buckthorn oil. Everything I read about it, it's just like a powerhouse oil. And part of the reason I was very interested in this one was because my Derma E oil, I'm just not loving. It's feeling very heavy, and I'm looking for an oil that can kind of melt into my skin. I don't mind looking oily. I'm putting an oil on at night before I go to bed, but like I still want it to soak into my skin, and I just feel like that one just hasn't been doing what I want it to do. I will say I was a little surprised at how tiny the bottle is. You're getting 0.44 fluid ounces for $10. But then I also thought, you know what, something about these little bottles might be actually better, because the likelihood of you going through this and using this up before it goes rancid, oils go rancid, and most of these facial oils are not loading in lots of antioxidants to keep the oils from going rancid. In fact, there's nothing in here from a preservation agent. They're really just relying on you keeping this airtight, and then the bottle itself, and then the oils, you know, having a small shelf life. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I'm like, yeah, tiny bottle might not be the worst idea of life, especially because 2 to 3 drops is all I need of this. So I have been at night just kind of taking 2 to 3 drops in the palm of my hand, kind of rubbing my palms together like this to warm up the oil and kind of spread it out on my palms. And then I've just been pressing my palms into my skin like this. I've not been rubbing them in. I just kind of press this in. And this is the last step of my skincare routine at night after I've put absolutely everything else on, moisturizers, serums, tonics, the whole 9 yards on my skin. I will press this in and go to bed with very glowy, very hydrated skin. I think a combination of this oil, as well as just being very gentle with my skin throughout the rest of January, upping my daytime moisturizer here, as well as changing out my moisturizer at night, like I talked about in what I bought in the month of December, to a really creamy, hydrating Cica-based moisturizer. I feel like the evening skincare routine of that Cica moisturizer in combination with this, along with upping the moisture factor during the day with this, helped my skin get back to a more normalized state. I'm enjoying this. I feel like it's a thinner oil. It sinks in a little bit better. Doesn't feel as gloopy on my skin. And yeah, I'm quite impressed with this. I do think I will continue to purchase this as my facial oil. I like the price point and I like how it's performing on my skin. So that's what I had picked out myself. There was a fourth product that Serene had kind of tossed in this box because she said it's her favorite product out of the entire line, and it wasn't one that I had just selected on my own. And that is their Niacinamide Brightening Toner. And I use a toner for a couple of reasons. It's the first thing I put on my skin after I've cleansed. When you cleanse your skin, you're bringing up the pH, you're making it more neutral. And your natural skin is actually a little bit more acidic. And so the more you can do to kind of get your skin back to the pH that it should be at, as well as add a little bit of hydration. That's kind of how I see the purpose of toner for being. Hydration and balancing your skin's pH, because if you can do those two things, it will make everything else you put on top just that much more effective. I've been using one from a Korean brand called Claire's. It was their Hydrating Supple Toner. I've gone through several bottles of that. It's incredibly hydrating on my skin, and I feel like it's like that perfect thing to splash on with my hands after having washed. I like that toner quite a bit. I am getting very low on it, and it's probably one that I would have been on my radar to purchase in the month of February because I would have run out of it. I am actually going to give this one a whirl once I'm through with the toner that I have, for a couple of reasons. I looked at the ingredient list on the side panel here when they sent me this, and I got really excited. I really like what I'm reading here. Your first two ingredients are water and then glycerin. I love glycerin. Glycerin is a fantastic humectant. Your skin loves glycerin. It knows what to do with it. It's going to be incredibly hydrating. Your third ingredient in here is niacinamide. Okay, that's fantastic. Definitely going to get that brightening effect from there. You also have butylene glycol as the fourth ingredient, which is something that is actually going to cause all the ingredients in here to sink into your skin in a more effective manner. You have a form of ascorbic acid, so vitamin C. You also have arbutin, so that ingredient that I'm giving up from my ordinary serum by switching to their discoloration serum. Then you also have Saccharomyces ferment filtrate, which is that yeast extract that is in my Neogen Essence that I love. Those yeast extracts are used in Japanese and Korean skincare in a way that I feel like Western skincare is just kind of missing the boat on. So I was like, wow, that's in here too. You also have a licorice root extract, and then you've got some hyaluronic acid in here. So I was just reading this ingredient list and going, wow, I'm so impressed. So you're getting 4 ounces of this for $14. So fantastic price point. So big thank you for Good Molecules for sending those over. I think I had this brand was kind of a little bit off my radar. And like I said, I really am not somebody who's actively wanting to search out and try new skincare and change things all of the time, etc. But there were some things that just worked out well for me to fix some problems that I was having in my skincare routine, and I'm really pleased that it just so happened that they had products that met my exact needs at a price point that fits kind of how I think about skincare. Okay, so on 1/16, I placed an order on Ulta for some new drugstore makeup that had been released, and I also picked up a couple products from the Ulta brand itself. So I picked up their new Stay Cheeky Liquid Blush. I got the shade Dusty Pink. I thought this color looked really pretty, and it appeared to have a pearl finish to it. Once again, kind of interested in finding these creamy cheek products that have a little bit of a pearl iridescent shimmer to them. I really like this product. I like this color. It is kind of that murky dusty pink, so as opposed to being like a bright baby pink that can be a little too overpowering for me sometimes. Instead, you get this soft, dusty pink. It does have a very subtle luminosity to it. I think it's really pretty. And then the other thing that I picked up from them was a new single eyeshadow, and this was their Bouncy Cream eyeshadow. I got the shade Macaron. I have not played with this on my eyes yet. It definitely has that bouncy sort of texture to it. I will say it's a little bit more subtle than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a little bit more like the Melted Chromes from Essence, and it's pretty, but it's definitely more of a satin shimmer, maybe slightly satin leaning metallic than that super high foiled shine. I also picked up one of the new Milani palettes. I got the Gilded Nude palette because I just thought that the color story in here was so pretty. I loved that you had rosy tones. I loved that you had sort of more warm rust tones. I liked that you had sort of a soft ochre and a neutral in here. Like, I felt like this was a neutral palette that kind of leaned in some interesting directions besides just straight brown or being a straight warm palette, etc. Nice mix of colors. I have a Get Ready With Me using this palette coming up here shortly. Not entirely sure when that will go live. I filmed that yesterday. If I'm going to give like a quick summary, it is that it is an okay palette. It is not my favorite. There are some great things in here, and then there's some things that kind of bug me about it, but I was also able to make some really beautiful looks with this. So we'll talk more about this palette in that Get Ready With Me video. And then the other thing that will be in that Get Ready With Me video, I also purchased in that order, and that was the Milani Cheek Kiss blush. I got this for $10.05. I got the shade 110 Nude Flush. This definitely reminds me of the Glossier Cloud Paints. I definitely feel like that formula is getting duped all over the place now at the drugstore. I don't feel like you have to buy from Glossier in order to get this very easy to work with sort of cream stain blush. I do think this is very reminiscent of the shade Dusk in particular. They do have 6 different shades of this available. And then the last thing I placed in that order was for the NYX Shout Loud Satin Lipstick. I got the shade Chic. This is a wonderful formula. I really like this formula. This will also be in that upcoming Get Ready With Me video, because at this point, I think between the one that's already live and then the second one, you will have had a chance to see most of the products I purchased this month, or last month rather, demoed on my face, which is something I want to do more of. So that is the color there. It's a really pretty sort of pinky rose nude. This formula is super pigmented, super creamy, wears really well on the lips. Like, I had this on for hours and hours, and granted I wasn't doing anything but like drinking out of a straw. I hadn't eaten anything, but like it just lasted and it stayed moisturized on my lips, but it didn't move around, but it was still super pigmented. Like, I'm a huge fan of this new lipstick formula from NYX at this point. And then if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I was kind of messing around with the Makeup Geek sort of shadow palette builder that they had on their website. They had a way to build sort of a 9-pan palette yourself and kind of assemble it similar to ColourPop. And so I went ahead and made what I consider to be like my perfect cool toned, pinky warm leaning nude palette. Nothing too dark, nothing too crazy. I see this being a very work friendly palette for me. I got a little bit of depth in sort of a darker taupe and a murky plum here. I feel like the matte shadows are blending beautifully, lasting beautifully on my eyes. The foiled shade down here is absolutely beautiful. If I have one complaint right now, it is that the shade Shimmer Shimmer feels a little dusty and doesn't even feel like the best sort of satin feel to me. Now, for my purposes, it does work because it brightens my inner corner without being super metallic. And then on 11/19, I placed an order on Yes Style, which carries a whole bunch of Korean skincare, makeup, etc. The majority of the stuff on Yes Style is not cruelty free. What's interesting about Yes Style is they're very clear when you are ordering from the United States that this could take 3 weeks to get to you. And you just need to be aware of that. Like it says 21 to 31 days on a lot of their products. So I was running low on my Neogen essence when I went on to Yes Style, and I wanted to order my essence there because I was also getting a second product, and that's the only place I could find it. Their prices were comparable to Soko Glam, and they do free premium shipping, but it's 5 to 14 business days for shipping. And then some of their products had a longer ship time. Like right now, the Neogen Essence, if I go out there, says usually ships within 1 to 2 days. When I placed my order, it said between 10 to 12 days. So I do think that sometimes the distribution model with Yes Style is a little sluggish and slow, because I ordered my products on 1/19. I am filming this video on February 2nd, and as of now, I don't even think my order has shipped out. It still says processing. So at this point, it's been about 2.5 weeks and my order still hasn't shipped. So I'm just going to have to factor that in. If I like, especially the next product, which we're going to talk about here in a second, if I like that one, and since that's the only place I can find it online right now, I'm just going to have to factor in those ordering times. I did order my Neogen Real Ferment Micro Essence from them. And then the other thing that I ordered from them was from Dear Claire's. Claire's is the one that I'm using the toner from now before I make the switch to Good Molecules. But I am ordering their Soft Airy UV Essence SPF 50 plus PA+++++. And I recently watched a skincare video an SPF video from Lab Muffin Beauty. She is a PhD chemist. She works to formulate all kinds of skincare products, incredibly knowledgeable. So I watched her sunscreen video where she actually broke down the difference between physical versus chemical SPFs. And she actually in that moment was like, I don't like the term physical versus chemical. Everything's a chemical. Technically what it is organic versus inorganic is the better way to define your SPFs. And so your inorganic SPFs are the ones that have minerals as their base. And then your other one, your organic base, is using different compounds that are not mineral based. So she really breaks down sunscreens from a organic versus inorganic perspective. I guess I would say my whole thinking on sunscreen has shifted at this point. So I was running low on my, my mineral sunscreen from Erin's Faces, which is nice. It has a basic matrixyl peptide in it, which I did like, but I also felt like it was a little drying, and I think it's because in order to boost and get that SPF, I think it's 30 inside of that. Maybe it was 50, I'm blanking. Regardless, you have to load in a ton of the inorganic materials, the titanium dioxides and other minerals in order to make that sunscreen work. And so those can often be very drying on your skin. And I just have felt like for the last month, I get my skin nice and plump and hydrated, and then I go and I put that Erin's Faces on, and I feel like it's taking away some of the moisture that's in my skin. So I've been running very low on it. I knew I needed to place an order for more sunscreen. I just so happened to watch all those Lab Muffin videos. I will obviously link those all down below. She's fantastic. You should follow her anyway. But in particular, her 2 videos on sunscreen are just incredibly eye-opening, and I definitely would encourage everybody to go watch those 2 in particular. I was able to use some of my e.l.f. rewards. They have a really nice rewards program which actually allows you to redeem points for like $10 off coupons that can be used even on the new products, and so that is what I did. So I ended up picking up one of their glitter eyeshadows, and I got the shade Copper Pop. It's super cute. It's in a slightly smaller container than the Stila Glitter and Glows, but I did just see a huge display of these at my local Target, so if you wanted to see these in action. So I've not had a chance to put this on my lid yet, given when this product got delivered. I think it just got delivered, I don't know, a few days ago at this point. So this is still on my list to play with. I've just swatched on the back of my hand, and I do think it looks like it goes on very smoothly. Nice dispersion of glitter, at least on the back of my hand. We'll put this on the eyes, and I will report back to you on this guy. Then the other thing I picked up was something called a Sheer Slick Lipstick. I got Jammer Jelly. It is a bright fuchsia. I was kind of thinking I was going to get a little bit more of a neutral shade to it. It is a fairly bright bright fuchsia. It is really balmy and really comfortable, and you can use it very sheer as like just like a slight tint, or you can definitely build up the pigmentation. I wore this one yesterday for the bulk of the afternoon and into the evening, and it made my lips really hydrated. Sometimes these hydrating formulas your lips can just like eat because they're chapped, right? This one actually stayed very glossy and very hydrated on my lips for many, many hours. But I was kind of impressed with this. I also saw this now at my local Target over the weekend. So Target has a display of these. Kind of wish they had done some nude shades. My biggest gripe sometimes is I feel like nudes are what most people want, and sometimes these ranges end up just going for brights. I also picked up one of their new shades in their primer infused blush. This is Always Punchy. It's really bright, and I, for some reason in my head, when I looked at the photos online, thought I was ordering a primer infused blush that was a little bit more neutral, a little bit more muted. This is a fairly bright pink coral. It's not that I'm opposed to this shade, it's just I thought I was buying something totally different. I like the formula of these blushes quite a bit, but I have yet to find a shade that I'm like super gaga for. And then the last thing that I ordered in that elf order also cost $3.49 after my discounts, and that was ordering the correct shade of my hydrating Camo concealer in Fair Beige, which we talked about earlier, and I've already shown swatches of all of that. So that is everything I purchased in the month of January. So just to kind of run you through totals here, for PR this month, I received $50 worth of products from Good Molecules. Like I said, I'm tracking the costs of all of my PR because I just don't want to get to the point where I've just received, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of makeup and I've lost how that fits inside of my beauty budget and how that impacts, you know, the amount of stuff I'm taking in, as also just don't want to become disconnected from the price of things. In terms of makeup basics, I had $13.96 that was coming from the Costco wipes. Drugstore makeup was $213.60. High-end makeup was $42.40. Skincare was $110.04, and then for both hair care and body care, I had nothing. So in terms of my total expenses, that was $380.01. When I factor in my total expenses plus PR, that takes the total to $430.01. So gonna start reporting out both of those numbers for you guys on a regular basis. That does mean I have $84.22 left over to roll into the month of February. And then let's look at my little pie chart over here so you can kind of see how things break down. No shock here. Biggest category is definitely drugstore makeup at 56%, then skincare at 29%, makeup high-end at 11%, and then makeup basics at 4%. And then obviously you're not seeing any slices for hair care or body care on here. So that is how I spent my beauty budget in the month of January. I will get into kind of that rollover and then kind of what the setup is for my February budget when I do my next needs, nopes, and wants video, which is what I will be filming next. Hope you like this makeup look. You're gonna see it again in this video, next video as well. So we will go through the things that I know I need to purchase this next month, the things that I am anti-hauling as my nopes, and then the things that I have caught my eye. Heads up, it's mostly drugstore makeup for the month of February. So hope you guys are having an amazing week. Look forward to chatting with you down in the comments.